What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Modern Creator Podcast, episode 23. How are you doing? I'm well. Thank you for asking. We have a solo podcast today and a little live updates before we get to the meat and potatoes. Today was just a bunch of admin work, a lot of admin work actually. Responded to a bunch of emails, coordinating shoots and whatnot. Did a little bit of editing, some personal stuff that we'll talk about that in a second. And other than that, just got home from the gym. I'm feeling great. Just had dinner right now. I'm feeling great. Have an iced coffee right now. I'm feeling great. And this past week was a bunch of shooting. So I want to talk about each individual shoot that we did. I did 3 different shoots in the span of like 4 or 5 days. So yesterday I went to the San Diego County Fair, and the reason I haven't gone in like 3 to 4 years actually. My buddy invited me. He had free tickets, and so I said, "What the hell? Let's do it." And so I took my camera with me, and I hit up my buddy Rafi to ask if I could borrow his 16 to 35 G Master lens, which is this bad boy right here. It's a gorgeous lens. G Master, obviously, for those that do know what G Master is, it's the top of the line Sony Alpha lenses, and 16 is just freaking wide, man, and 35 is a great compression. The focus is also amazing at 2.8. It's really great for low light environments, which I was very excited to shoot this at the fair since we went there at night. And so I actually just released a small little edit on my personal Instagram. If you want to go check it out, go ahead and check it out. And of course, one of the reasons why I was excited to go to the fair is because, I don't really care about the rides or anything like that. The food's pretty good as well. I mean, it's fair food, so it's like a bunch of fried crap and whatnot, but it's not too bad. Got a couple of hot dogs and a corn dog and whatnot. But the main reason I went is just to shoot some fun stuff with the camera, test out the low light situation, test out different picture profiles. I'm used to shooting in S-Log, S-Log3 to be exact. But since I was shooting at night, I like to not shoot in log. So I may get a little bit of pushback with this individual rule that I personally like to do is once the sun's gone and it's dropped and it's pretty much nighttime, I like to switch to S-Cinetone. S-Cinetone is a great picture profile in my opinion. Even in a controlled environment like right here would be amazing. Right now I'm shooting in standard profile because it's just a podcast. I think the current cameras right now are just really good with straight out the camera colors. And not everything needs to be graded. Not everything needs to be a very stylistic look. So for the podcast, I'm cool with this. Do a little bit of contrast, if anything, lower down the highlights or whatever. But back to the fair. Go to S-Cinetone. I still want to do a little bit of grading, but not too much. I just don't think I think it's just overkill to shoot an S-Log with everything. I know people love to shoot S-Log at nighttime as well. I'm not the kind of person. I just want to make things a little bit easier for me. And plus, like, this is a non-paid project. Obviously, it's more just like to have fun. And this is like the perfect time to like really test out different picture profiles or different equipment and camera gear. So I used the 16 to 35 for the first time, and I think it came out pretty damn good, as you'll see it right here on YouTube. But yeah, that was pretty fun. Got some pretty good images as well as far as stills goes. But I was really impressed with the colors that I was able to use or able to pull with just S-Cinetone when it came to the color grading. One thing I really wanted to do was take a Promist filter with me, because with the fair, there's a ton of different lights, and with the Promist filter, it'll make it nice and bloomy looking, very like hazy looking as well. So for those that don't know what Promist, it pretty much softens the highlights, and also is really good with like wrinkles and whatnot. So when I'm shooting like female talents, it's like the go-to. I'm also using this right now as we speak. I usually use this Promist filter in every podcast episode. The reason why I couldn't use it though was because this 16 to 35 thread is so huge. It's like, I think it's like 82. Yeah, it's like 82 thread. So it's like very, very large. And I don't have that thread size. I have for this one, for the 17 to 28, it's around like 76, I want to say. And so I have a step up ring for it. So then I put the Promist filter to the step up ring to the actual lens itself. And I didn't have anything bigger than this, so I couldn't use a Promist filter. So what I already had thought was, I had seen a tutorial on YouTube years ago about making a fake Promist filter look on your image with just the power of editing. And so I did that. I already had that in mind. So I took time to learn it today, and I did the filter, and then I did the tweaking and whatnot. And I think it came out pretty damn good. So it does have that nice bloom effect, that nice glowy look. It's like very like angelic. So if you check it out, let me know what you think about it. I already had one person ask me via DM like, hey, which Promist did you use? Because it looks pretty glowy. And I told him like, yo, no Promist filter. This has literally worked all on post. So that was pretty fun to like experiment with editing as well. So like if you have some sort of event that someone may invite you to that's something you wouldn't typically do, but you want to use certain gear and try new things and test it out in the real world without like being worried about messing up for the clients since it's on their dime. Dude, just go out to that event, go out to that social gathering, take your camera, test out new features, test out new gear. And it's I mean, to me, it's fun. So it made the trip worth it. That's literally the only reason why I wanted to go to the fair, because I knew there's going to be nice popping lights at night. I could test out the low light quality of the A7S plus a 2.8 G master lens. Yeah, I think it was pretty fun. It was pretty cool. And I think I did a hell of a job. So this lens is pretty damn pricey. I'm not going to lie. I'll have a link in the description if you're curious to check out if you want to buy it or not. So I have a cheaper option of a 16 to 35, which would be this lens right here, the 17 to 28 Tamron. I mean, we're talking about 1 millimeter difference from 16 to 17, but from 28 to 35 millimeters, we're talking about a difference of 7 millimeters right there, which is kind of significant in my opinion. With 35 mil, I was able to get, I mean, obviously the higher the focal range, focal length, the more compression you're gonna get. And at 35 mil, it looked like a damn pretty good sweet spot. I mean, 28 is not too bad, but I mean, if you want to cough up the extra, let's say $400 to $600, probably even more actually, it's gonna be, I don't know if it's worth it or not. With my experience with this lens, I mean, this lens is quite heavy and it's external zoom, where my 17 to 28 is super duper light, and it's internal zoom, so it's amazing with gimbals. But with the RS3, you could pretty much use an external zoom lens and be fine since it's so freaking powerful. So that was that. And another shoot that I did was here at a local hotel rooftop bar. They asked me to cover the event. It was like a private concert event for iHeartRadio, and they asked for video and photography content. So I assembled the Avengers and we freaking shot that and did a hell of a job. So I was very excited to do that because, again, going back to the RS3 that I have, the gimbal, I was able to use the 70 to 200 lens and get some pretty damn good shots at that 200 millimeter range. Just going slight little orbit shots, just have that nice compression look where the background's looking like it's moving fast and the subject is moving slow. It just looked pretty damn good. So I'm very excited to cut that up and edit that bad boy, which I'm gonna be working on this week. Then the following day, I got hired very last second to film a wedding, or help film a wedding for this individual. He hired me as a second shooter. So I went, and first time meeting this individual, dude, networking. It's the way to go, man. Anyways, so I went to the shoot. Again, I'm very excited because I'm really flexing the RS3 at this point. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get some crazy wedding shots with the freaking RS3 on a 28 to 75, or maybe the 70 to 200, depending on what I'm feeling. And so the first shooter and we agreed, like, all right, I'm gonna get on the 55 millimeter. Let me try it out. So as I'm balancing this gimbal with the 55 is like yay big. It's really small and it's very, very light. And so I'm balancing it, right? And then as I turn it on, I noticed it started shaking like really bad. I'm like, okay, maybe I hit auto tune without even knowing it. I don't know. And so it kind of wouldn't stop. And so I tried turning it off with the button and it wouldn't respond. So I'm like, this is weird. Okay. So I had to like disconnect it from the actual handle to the battery, which you're probably not supposed to do that. You could probably mess with the battery like that. And so put it back, trying to turn it on. It turns on, but the monitor does not turn on. So I'm like, this is weird. What's going on, guys? And so I'm trying to think how fast. I'm like, all right, what do I do? I'm trying to like troubleshoot it and whatnot. And this is all in front of like the lead shooter who I just met for the first time ever. And I'm explaining, I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is a brand new freaking gimbal. I just got this last week. This is like my 4th shoot with it. Like, it was acting perfectly fine. I don't know what the hell's going on. And so I was like, all right, man, just try to figure it out. And then maybe when you're ready. So he went to go meet with the bride or something like that. Pro tip, show up early, guys, because right there you could test out gear. So that's pretty much what I was doing. Showed up a little bit early. But anyways, it's not working. I'm like, okay, maybe the freaking lens is a little too light and the gimbal, for some reason, it needs something a little bit more heavier. So I know there was like a stretch, but I was like, as I'm trying to think super fast and trying to get this shit going, because I got to go freaking go shoot. I'm like, all right, let me go to my typical lens, which would be a 28-75. I've used that combo many times and it's worked out flawlessly. I try to balance it. Balance is fine. Balance is perfect. Turn it on. The same thing is happening. It's like shaking and the monitor's not even turning on. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Again, I disconnect the handle from the battery, put it back, turning on again. And this time the freaking monitor turns on like DJI, and then it makes it sound perfect. And I'm like, okay, we're good. And so I'm hitting auto tune, which will be like the trigger button plus the M button. And you just hold it for like 5 seconds. It automatically auto tunes instead of going through your phone. Pro tip. And so it's auto tuning, but it's like taking forever to finish. For the most part, when I auto tune, it takes probably around 15 seconds max. And I had it run for like a minute and a half. I'm like, okay, something's wrong. I'm trying to hit the freaking power button to make it go to sleep. It's not working. It's not responding to me. I'm trying to hit the monitor and like make it stop. It's not freaking responding to me. Again, disconnect it from the battery to the handle. I put it back in, turn it on again. This time the monitor is not working, and it's on, but it's not responding to me at all. I'm like, fuck, man, like, what am I gonna do? And so I was just thinking, like, why would it do this? So trying to figure out why it's not working. So the only thing I could think of, I mean, first I thought it was possibly the lens that was a little too light, which clearly that wasn't it. And then I'm thinking, all right, maybe it has something to do with the weather. So when I shot the wedding, it was like 85 degrees and it was like clear skies. The sun was freaking beaming. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit of color. I'm like, well, maybe the heat has something to do with it. And with the monitor, it probably like overheated or something. So the third thing would have been, it's like, well, when I purchased this on Amazon, I purchased an open box one and I saved myself like $100 and something, like a little less than 150 bucks. And I have plenty of experience buying used gear, like lenses, for example, and it's worked out fine. So this was actually the first time buying an electronical device or item, and that was used. And so again, I had used it like 3 days prior and it worked out pretty damn good with all my shoots. And like the 4th time that I'm actually using it with like harsher conditions with the sun, it just kind of like failed on me. I'm like, dude, what the hell? So I didn't have time to think at the moment. I'm like, all right, I just need to do a quick little audible and figure this shit out later. And so I actually hit up my boy Rafi, who let me borrow this lens. And I said, dude, are you by chance available? And he's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, dude, can I please borrow your RS3 Pro? He has a Pro version. Like, can I please borrow your gimbal? He's like, all right, man, on my way. And like, granted, this is like, it's usually a 30-minute drive to get to the wedding from my place. And but this is the middle of the day, like around 1 p.m. on a Saturday. So traffic is stupid crazy. And it took me almost an hour to get there, a little over an hour actually. And so like, I'm like, all right, the ceremony starts in like 90 minutes. If he takes off right now, he'll probably be there in an hour and I should be straight. And so again, I'm trying to do this because like this is the first time meeting this individual that hired me. I'm like, dude, he's probably gonna think I'm a scrub, like I'm just not ready or whatnot. So I go to the guy that hired me and I say, hey man, my gimbal crapped out on me, but I do have a gimbal on the way right now. And he's like, oh, is in the Temecula area? And I said, no, he's like an hour away. He's like, dude, don't even bother, man. Like, it's not even worth him coming to you. Just cancel that. He's like, are you comfortable going handheld? I'm like, dude, beyond comfortable. Plus with active stabilization and IBIS and you're shooting in slow motion, it's gonna be more than money. So he was cool with that. I killed it. And the footage came out really good. I already checked it out to make sure everything was fine, and he should have more than plenty to work with. So the next day I am determined to figure out what the hell happened to the gimbal. So I get to my desk, I mount it to a 28-75 lens, and it freaking turns on flawlessly. It's responding to me on the actual monitor, and it's responding to me on the mobile app as well. I'm like, weird. Okay, let's go to the 55 millimeter. Turn it off. Balance it with the 55 mil, which the one I thought I was like maybe a little too light. Freaking works perfect. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, maybe it had something to do with the sun. I don't know if this heat kind of overheated, which I don't understand, because the previous gimbal that I had, which was the RSC, which was the first generation, that one didn't have a monitor. It just had a little joystick and the M button, and that's pretty much it. And I freaking ran into the mud with that. Like, I remember shooting that in the rain before, and it freaking still worked flawlessly. So it's like, that worked fine. So I'm like, what the hell happened to this, man? And so I clearly cannot trust this gimbal. What if this happens to me on another shoot and it creps out? Like, I can't afford that to happen. Plus, when I'm shooting, I don't want to think of little things like that. I want to concentrate on my shot, my composition, and I don't have to think about gear and see if it's going to work or not. That's the last thing I want to think about. So I was like, screw this, man. It works right now, but I'm going to hit the return button. And I already returned it. And so I just purchased a brand new RS3, which it's in a box. I just got it yesterday and I haven't opened it yet. But yeah, hopefully the brand new one doesn't crap out on me. So if you guys have any experience with like the RS3 gimbal failing on you for whatever reason, not responding to you, be sure to add in the comments. I'm curious to know if I'm the only one or not. I tried looking it up on YouTube. I tried looking it up on forums, and I didn't really find much information. So maybe I just got a faulty one and it just didn't work. I mean, shit happens, I guess. So that was that. But the reason I want to talk about this is because in filmmaking, things always happen. Whether it's gear, whether it's talent, whether it's the weather, something always happens, and it's rare when a shoot goes 100% according to plan. So when shooting, even in photography, you just have to like anticipate something to happen and just like react and like, all right, quick audible. All right, let's figure this out. Let's not freak out. And again, let's figure it out. So the gimbal crapped out on me. So I was like, all right, well, I hit on my boy who was, thank God, man, he was like super down to like drive an hour and just to drop off his gimbal and let me use it, which not most people wouldn't do that, especially on their Saturday. Like, I'm ruining their freaking Saturday, their weekend and whatnot. And so I had that. And plus I was like, all right, well, worst case scenario, I'm gonna go handheld. And also I'm super glad that I brought my cage with me that has a top handle and a side handle. And so that adds a little bit more weight so I can put it closer to my body and have extra stabilization. So that worked out for me. But like, one thing I picked up from Adrian during a music video shoot, it was a day before the shoot, and we were kind of having a little meeting with the actual talent itself in the hotel lobby. And the one thing he said that kind of stuck with me, he was like, hey, just want to give you a heads up. It's going to be a long day tomorrow, but it's going to be very fun. But just be aware, shit happens. Things always happen. So just do not freak out. Pretty much saying that. And I heard him say that. I'm like, damn, that's a really good thing to tell like clients and the people we're going to just be working with. And so I remember that same, I know I'm going like sidetracked right now, but that music video that we did where he had warned the talent like, hey, something may happen. Just be aware, like with technology, shit always happens. Our freaking gimbal also stopped working, and then like in the last part of the shoot, like it was like the last 3 scenes, we had like a Ronin M, like this big gimbals, and it stopped working for some reason. And so we had to like figure it out last second, I remember. And so I'm like, dude, I'm glad he warned her, because like, so I don't know, it's just like you look more professional, like giving them anticipation, like, hey man, something may happen, whatever. But like, I know it sounds super weird, but yeah, it's something I told my clients, like, hey, like, just want to give you a heads up, like with shooting, like not everything's going to be 100%, like according to plan. Like the weather may be faulty or something may happen. Life happens, man. And technology, I mean, I always say you can't rely on technology. And so this is the perfect example where like a quote unquote brand new gimbal freaking crapped out on me, and I was able to audible and figure out the next steps. But I've always been like that, where it's like, all right, this doesn't work. Okay, what's the next step? How can I figure it out? What can I do now? So I've always been like that. I've never been the kind where like I'm freaking out and I'm like, I freeze and I stop and get paralyzed. Like, no, I'm always like, all right, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So something to take away from this episode is if a shoot doesn't go well or something happens, whether it's gear, weather, talent, whatever, just deep breath, think about what you're going to do and just figure it out. That's it. Well, anyways, thanks you guys for listening to me. Appreciate you guys for being here. And if you guys are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, please give it a 5-star rating and a review, please. I would appreciate you guys. If you guys have Apple Podcast, please give it a review. I would really appreciate that. It's really easy. Just scroll down or scroll up and then just hit the review right there. Give me a 5-star rating. That'd be amazing. On YouTube, I'd like a like, comments, and subscribe. Instagram, give it a follow as well. Links will be in the description. Dude, the Instagram is growing crazy, man. We're like at 12.6, almost at 13,000 followers. It's just growing every single day. And I appreciate all the DMs I'm getting, guys. Like, seriously, from like New York to Florida, Texas. This past week I had 2 from like, one was in Germany and then the other one was in Switzerland. It was freaking, and one of them was like a voice text, which was like even cooler to like hear the actual voice with the accent and everything. And then pretty much like getting like either questions or like giving props to the podcast. Like they're loving the information that we're providing with me and all the guests. And it's just really cool to like actually hear the feedback. So I don't know, man. It's just super, super dope. And I really appreciate you guys for listening to be here with me. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.